Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Bill Thomas and here's a preview of some of today's top stories. We have an update now on the Bob Lee stabbing case in San Francisco. The suspect appeared in court today, but his attorney was nowhere to be seen. Electronic cigarette maker Juul Labs just settled one of their largest cases. The company is now required to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to 6 states and the District of Columbia. And lawmakers have just introduced another new bill. The proposed law seeks to add an additional 11% in state taxes to firearms and ammunition sales. We have an update now on the Bob Lee stabbing case in San Francisco. The suspect appeared in court today, but a judge ordered his arraignment to be continued at a later time. More now on that story.
Nima Momeni, the 38-year-old founder of software company Expand IT, who was arrested on Thursday morning for allegedly murdering Cash App founder Bob Lee, appeared before the judge on Friday morning. But the judge decided to postpone his arraignment.
April 25th, the arraignment will continue of Mr. Momeni. Mr. Momeni was present today in court. He's ordered to return to court on April 25th for the arraignment, and at that time, the motion to detain will be ruled on. Today, the judge issued a no bail without prejudice order, so he will remain in custody through April 25th, and on April 25th, there will be a ruling on the motion to detain that the people filed.
Momeni's sister, Kazar Momeni, and her husband were among those who were present in court. Prior to the courtroom opening, they stood outside in the hallway waiting in silence with the sister wearing dark sunglasses. One of the reasons for the continuance was because of Momeni's attorney, Paula Canny's absence.
As was stated to the court, my sister's on vacation, and this occurred. There was an agreement to continue the arraignment until the 25th. He had friends and family here in support. The facts as to what occurred or did not occur will come out over time.
Lee was found stumbling through the streets of San Francisco at around 2:30 a.m. on April 4th, bleeding from a stab wound. He later died of his wounds at a hospital. Authorities said Lee knew the suspect. The two reportedly were driving in downtown San Francisco in Momeni's car when an alleged confrontation led to Lee's stabbing.
In Southern California, the Westminster City Council recently voted to ban the controversial social media app TikTok. This follows similar moves on the state and federal levels as lawmakers introduce bills looking to ban the app from government-issued devices.
The Westminster City Council passed a resolution to ban TikTok from government devices. This means the app cannot be downloaded or used while accessing the city's Wi-Fi. Approved on April 5th in a 5-0 vote, the resolution also includes websites made by the China-based company ByteDance. The council also discussed banning all social media apps from city-issued phones. However, this was not feasible since city staff members need to use their phones to operate city-run social media pages. The motion for the ban was at the request of Mayor Chi Charlie Nguyen and Vice Mayor Nam Kwon Nguyen. Their request stemmed from national security concerns raised by FBI Director Christopher Wray in December 2022. Wray had said that China could use the app to collect users' data and control content in favor of its own country. The app could even collect data when it's not in use. On the national level, U.S. Congress voted to ban TikTok from federal government-owned devices in December 2022. And on the state level, California State Senator Bill Dodd and Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez have also introduced similar bills.
Electronic cigarette maker Juul Labs will now pay $462 million to 6 states and the District of Columbia. The attorneys general of these states say the sum is compensation for Juul's role in the increase in youth vaping.
Electric cigarette maker Juul Labs has agreed to settle for $462 million in a multi-state lawsuit. It will be paying 6 states: New York, California, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New Mexico, in addition to the District of Columbia. The attorneys general of these states announced on Wednesday that the huge sum is compensation for Juul's role in the youth vaping surge. And this is just the latest in a string of recent legal agreements Juul has reached to settle lawsuits. The controversy surrounding Juul is that it allegedly tries to lure children who are too young to smoke with its marketing tactics. The latest settlement also restricts the marketing and distribution of the company's products. For example, Juul is barred from any direct or indirect marketing that targets anyone under the age of 35. Juul will also limit the number of purchases customers can make online and in person. A spokesperson for Juul said that the recent settlement neared the total resolution of the company's historical legal challenges. The startup rocketed to the top of the U.S. vaping market about 5 years ago. Its rise was fueled in part by use among teenagers, some of whom became hooked on Juul's high nicotine pods. Parents, school administrators, and politicians have largely blamed the company for a surge in underage vaping. As a result, Juul has paid hundreds of millions of dollars to settle these cases.
Legislators in California have just proposed a bill that would add another 11% in state taxes to firearms and ammunition sales in the state. The bill is being met by opposition groups who say the proposal is an additional punishment to gun owners.
The Assembly Public Safety Committee voted in favor of a bill that would add another 11% in state taxes to firearms and ammunition that is sold within the state. Assembly Bill 28 was introduced by Democratic Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel. Under the proposal, the state would also establish the Gun Violence Prevention, Healing, and Recovery Fund with the generated revenue that would fund a variety of gun violence prevention plans. Law enforcement agencies and firearms dealers who take in less than $5,000 in yearly sales would be exempt from the tax. The bill is being met with backlash by several state law enforcement groups, the National Rifle Association, conservation groups, and shooting sports organizations who say the bill is just punishing gun owners for exercising their constitutional right. But during the committee hearing, Gabriel says, quote, "This bill aims to create a sustainable funding source for programs that are proven to reduce gun violence and save lives." The bill now heads to the Assembly's Revenue and Taxation Committee for its next hearing. If passed, the new law will go into effect on July 1st, 2024.
Speaking of laws, a California assemblyman has blocked a parental rights bill that would have banned secret gender transitions at schools. The decision comes as several packed school board meetings continue to debate over the issue on the local level.
Assembly Bill 1314, authored by Republican Assemblyman Bill Assaili, was blocked on Monday by Democratic Assembly Education Committee Chairman Al Miritsuchi. The bill would have required a teacher, counselor, or school employee to notify a parent within 3 days of becoming aware that a student is identifying a school as a gender not aligning with the child's sex on their birth certificate. A statement issued by Miritsuchi on Monday says, quote, "I will not be setting AB 1314 for a hearing, not only because the bill is proposing bad policy, but also because a hearing would potentially provide a forum for increasingly hateful rhetoric targeting LGBTQ youth." Meanwhile, in Congress, Republican Representative Doug LaMalfa from California has introduced a federal bill to defund school districts that support secret gender transitions and gender-affirming practices. He says, quote, "Schools have really overstepped their bounds." And on the local level, parental rights activists in Chico, Chino, Newport Beach, and Costa Mesa are showing up at meetings to demand an end to policies that will keep students' gender identity secret from parents.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Officials are pushing for changes in a criminal justice reform law. They hope to amend the law, saying the growing crime rate across the state is getting out of hand. California is nearly out of its drought thanks to the parade of storms this winter. Less than 9% of the state is still in a drought, and some areas, like the Central Valley, they have so much water that they're flooding. And some people are so fed up with the potholes in LA that they're taking matters into their own hands. Even a former governor is involved. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Bill Thomas. Many California officials are calling for changes to one of the state's criminal justice reform laws. The plea comes amid growing concerns over the extreme rise in crime seen up and down the state.
Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin is calling for enhanced public safety measures and changes to one of California's criminal justice reform laws. During an April 12th press conference, Hestrin pointed to the story of Winchester resident Timothy Bethel as an example of the law's consequences.
We want to tell this story today because, frankly, all of us up here on stage have had enough. We cannot protect our public. We're getting no help from Sacramento. The laws don't back us up. And a case like this is the result.
Officials said Bethel committed a series of burglaries at several businesses beginning in 2021, racking up 39 felony charges in Tulare County.
He was arrested, he was charged by my office, and convicted of those additional 6 felonies. He was sentenced to 3 years, 8 months in prison for his crimes and based on his long history. Because of the effects of AB 109 and the specific effects that it's had here in Riverside County, he did 3 days of that sentence before he was federally released. At that point, the only sliver of good news is he left our county and went back to Tulare County, where he immediately engaged in another crime spree.
The law, Hestrin pointed out, AB 109, also known as the Public Safety Realignment Act of 2011, was signed by then-Governor Jerry Brown as an attempt to decrowd state prisons. The law stemmed from a 2011 U.S. Supreme Court ruling that deemed the state's prison conditions unconstitutional. The law also created a program which allows eligible offenders to serve their sentences in the community instead of being sent to state prison. But officials alongside Hestrin, including Tulare County DA Tim Ward, Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco, and Riverside Police Chief Larry Gonzalez, argue the law needs to be amended so habitual offenders can go to state prison.
And the reality for me and the reality for our district attorneys is we're fed up. We're fed up from trying to explain to people why we can't help them. Because the reality is I can't control the governor. I can't control the state legislature. You all can.
In the past 10 years, a third of the space in 5 Riverside County jails has housed inmates who would have previously been sentenced to state prison, but were instead diverted to those facilities. And a federal court mandate requires the sheriff to ensure that every inmate has a bed or release current detainees to create space. Officials called on constituents to contact their local assembly members and senators to urge them to amend the law.
Stanford University is now no longer requiring people to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to enter its campus unless they work in a healthcare facility. Stanford is also starting to phase out their testing requirements.
Stanford University announced that starting April 10th, proof of COVID vaccination is no longer required to enter campus grounds. But positive test results must still be reported, and students can return to campus after the 6th day under certain conditions. Students who are asked to quarantine no longer receive meal deliveries, but are now advised to wear a K95 mask and pick up their meals to go to dining halls and eat in their rooms or away from others. Stanford still provides K95 masks. Students and faculty who spoke with the Epic Times say they are mostly okay with the requirements being eased. An aerospace engineering major said, "I'm pretty indifferent to it, to be honest. I supported the requirement. It was an emergency situation, and the situation is not an emergency anymore." An economics student had mixed feelings about it. She said, "Personally, I prefer for people to have vaccines, but I also respect the decision made, although I feel like most people already have it." Stanford also has a website where students can see possible exposures. Stanford no longer requires masks in classrooms, but individual instructors can require them if they choose. The university says it will continue its wastewater analysis to test for the coronavirus.
Catalytic converter thefts have been a persistent issue across the country, and Southern California is a hotspot. A newly published report finds that the Golden State makes up over 1/3 of the total thefts reported nationwide.
Across the country, catalytic converter thefts continue to rise. thousands of drivers have been targeted and forced to pay the costly repairs. Incidents nationwide have increased by over 1,200% between 2019 and 2022. That's according to the National Insurance Crime Bureau. California accounted for more than 18,000 catalytic converter theft insurance claims in 2021. The Insurance Crime Bureau reported that the state's tally represented 37% of the national total. And Southern California is a hotspot with its high population density. The number of cars parked on the streets at night also creates opportunities for theft. But experts warn that the actual number of such thefts is much higher, as the figures only account for people with full coverage insurance. Drivers carrying standard liability insurance are not covered in the event of theft. A spokesperson for the Orange County Muffler, an automotive shop in Costa Mesa, said approximately 90% of replacements are fully insured. Some without insurance have to trash the car because it costs too much to repair. The value of a catalytic converter lies within its core, which contains rare minerals. Platinum, palladium, and rhodium are among the rare elements used in converters. The cost to repair a catalytic converter runs between $1,000 and $5,000 depending on the car. Converters used in all vehicles in California are more efficient and expensive due to the state's strict emission standards.
This past winter's epic storms dropped much-needed rain and snow on California, and now only remnants of the state's 3-year drought remain. Nearly 90% of the state is considered out of a drought.
The U.S. Drought Monitor reported Thursday that areas of drought cover less than 9% of the state, down from more than 99% at the start of the water year in October. About 25% of the state is abnormally dry in the far north and southeast. California's winter was marked by numerous atmospheric rivers that dumped enormous amounts of rain, blanketed mountains with an extraordinary snowpack, and replenished reservoirs. Now some reservoirs are so full that water is being released to make room for storm runoff and melting snow that could cause flooding this spring and summer. Parts of the Central Valley like Merced, Fresno, and Tulare counties are still under flood warnings, in addition to evacuation warnings and orders. Merced County Sheriff Vern Warnicki announced on Thursday that he officially shut down all public access to the Merced River and the San Joaquin River for recreational use until further notice. He says it's fast and ice cold. Those who chose to ignore the warnings will be cited and fined.
It's dangerous. I've got a dive rescue team that we don't need to have out there risking their lives to save somebody that should have not been in the water in the first place.
On the bright side, the state is seeing a super bloom this spring.
As we reported earlier this week, people in LA are fed up with the potholes that have worsened during the winter storms. So recently, Hollywood action hero and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he took it upon himself to terminate a cracked road. Let's hear from NTD's Arian Pazdar.
Thank you. Bye.
On Tuesday, the Terminator star uploaded a Twitter video of himself and his team fixing a pothole, making sure it won't be back. In the caption, the 75-year-old wrote, "Today, after the whole neighborhood has been upset about this giant pothole that's been screwing up cars and bicycles for weeks, I went out with my team and fixed it. I always say, let's not complain, let's do something about it. Here you go."
Now let's hear from NTD's Carlos Reyes for an update on sports. We're going to paint California's playoff picture for the NBA.
I'm Carlos Reyes, taking you through the California Today Sports Roundup. LeBron James returned from injury in time to boost the red-hot Los Angeles Lakers' hopes of winning the NBA championship. James returned to the Lakers 19 days ago after a month-long absence due to a right foot tendon injury. He helped muscle the team into a playoff spot that earlier in the year seemed all but unattainable. By clinching the Western Conference's 7th seed, the Lakers earned the right to face electrifying guard Ja Morant and the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies in a best-of-7 games first-round series that begins on Sunday. The Western Conference's Golden State Warriors who won a 4th NBA title in 8 years in 2022, opened their postseason on Saturday against the host Sacramento Kings. The Kings, after a 16-year drought that is the longest in NBA history, are the 3rd seed from the West and have both a young and untested group. Another team to watch in the West will be the Phoenix Suns, who turned into a force when they acquired Kevin Durant at the trade deadline. Phoenix will face the Los Angeles Clippers in the first round. Adrian Kempe collected a hat trick in a 4-point outing, and Victor Arvidsson added 3 assists as visiting Los Angeles claimed a victory over Anaheim to clinch 3rd place in the Pacific Division. Ans Kopitar netted 1 goal and 1 assist. Trevor Moore also scored for the Kings. Goaltender Jonas Korpisalo made 21 saves in the regular season finale for both clubs. Los Angeles' Matt Roy and Drew Doughty both notched 2 assists. Troy Terry collected 1 goal and 1 assist, while Max Jones and Trevor Zegras added singles for the Ducks, who finished at the bottom of the league standings. Goalie John Gibson stopped 31 shots. The Anaheim Ducks officially sit in last place and therefore hold the best odds for the #1 draft pick to hopefully acquire projected 1st overall pick Connor Bedard, if they win the draft lottery. Edmonton will open the Western Conference playoffs against the Los Angeles Kings after defeating visiting San Jose in both teams' season finale. Stuart Skinner finished with 27 saves for his 29th win of the season, breaking Grant Furr's team rookie win marks of 28 set in the 1982 season. Connor McDavid had an assist, his league-leading 89th, to go with an NHL best 64 goals for a total of 153 points. Steven Lorentz had a goal and an assist, and Noah Gregor also scored for San Jose. James Reimer made 31 saves. San Jose could finish the season at the lowest 30th place or highest 29th place for either the 3rd or 4th best odds of winning the draft lottery. Oilers 5, Sharks 2. And that is it for today's Sports Roundup. I'm Carlos Reyes. Thank you for watching.
That's all we have for you tonight, and would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday right here at 8:30 p.m. Also, make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage, and you can easily find that at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. And if you could, please send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email. That's california.today@ntd.com. I'm Bill Thomas, and for all of us here in the newsroom, have a great weekend.